Okay, what's up, guys? Dadalorian here. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. If you're new, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. If this is your first time coming to the channel. But anyway, today, something I'm doing something that I haven't done in a while, and I'm very excited about it. Finally, doing a bit of a book review. I also have one coming for the High Republic later today too. But anyway, we're talking about the Mandalorian season 2 art book. If you have not gotten this masterpiece yet, go and grab it. You can buy it at your local bookstore, Target, Amazon, whatever. I also have the first, season 1 book as well, which is just as phenomenal. Other things, I just kind of wanted to touch on some of the things I really enjoy within the book. Particularly, this is written by Phil Zostek and forwarded by Doug Chang. So hopefully I said Phil's last name correctly. So sorry if I butchered it, but doing the best I can. But anyway, it's really cool to kind of get behind, the minds of some of these, top creators who have been working in the business and that are behind the Mandalorian, that are behind, Lucasfilm. For instance, Doug Chang, he's been with Lucasfilm for over 16 years, which is really cool. And just kind of, hearing a little bit about his journey, and just seeing everything kind of brought to life and really kind of getting a layout of how, a production is done for this kind of scale. And it's crazy to think that, they strive to be one of the best, productions out there, in the business, you know what I mean? But they're still learning and still trying, new and different things. And obviously us as fans watching this stuff, we see that, where they're like, man, this is new, and the technology. If you've, watched the Mandalorian gallery for both season 1 and season 2, yeah, you're probably going to get a lot of that in here. It's kind of like condensed, I would say, somewhat, in the book format, for these art books. But I really like just seeing the concept art. I think even when the show is done, for each chapter of the Mandalorian, it's always fun, when you have the end credit music and you can kind of see the artwork that's kind of penciled in those credits. I really enjoy it. And for me, I've talked about this before very briefly, but even in my own collection, I'm a huge fan art guy. Even on Instagram, my Instagram is pretty much just Star Wars fan art, a little bit about my family, a little bit of shorts and TikTok stuff here and there. But I'm all about the fan art, and really when it comes to this art book, it's fun to see like the artists and everything that they do and their thought process going into the show. But anyway, I mean, I could go on and on, man. This book is awesome, dude. Like, you guys got to go check it out. But anyway, some of the things I really like, for instance, yes, there's a lot of Western stuff, and they talk about that and kind of the inspiration of, kind of like spaghetti Westerns, for instance. Even, Japanese culture, you see a lot of that kind of implemented, into the Mandalorian and Star Wars in general, even at its roots. Which is just really fun. I really enjoyed some of the talk that they did about Ahsoka. I thought that was really kind of cool and touching to me. I think, you kind of got to hear a little bit of Dave Filoni saying, like, hey, this is a character that's very near and dear to him. And, he really wanted to have a lot of kind of creative control, specifically with that episode with Ahsoka, coming into season 2, because it's so fragile of a character. She's strong, but when I say fragile of a character, it's a thing of there's so many people that grew up watching her. And so how do you adapt an animated character like that was so well received onto, a live action platform? So it was just really cool to kind of, read through and see. Hopefully, I don't know if you guys can really, you probably can't see much of anything because my background is blurred, but you can see I'm holding the book. And I'll have, some pictures kind of flowing through this as well. But anyway, I just enjoy like getting into the minds and kind of hearing some of the dialogue of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. And it always seemed like they always initially had a plan for Boba Fett as well. That's something else that's talked about that I really enjoy. In this book, I've said it before, but they even say it in here where they're like, if there would be no Mandalorians or the Mandalorian without pretty much the idea of Boba Fett. I know that's a known thing, but it's something that I've said multiple times before, and it's just cool to see like, hey, even folks at Lucasfilm, they're like, yeah, we know, Boba Fett is the OG. You know, there would be no expansion without first the idea of Boba. So I just thought it was cool. I was like, you know, I wasn't the first to say it, but it's fun to kind of see it revisited. And then, of course, you know, seeing the artwork of Plo Koon, you know, and that just boggles me that, you know, even after watching the, you know, Mandalorian gallery and, you know, knowing how secretive everything was kept, particularly, you know, pertaining around Luke Skywalker, it's hilarious, but it's really cool. You know what I mean? I think it was a cool way that Dave Filoni and the folks, you know, who were part of the artist team, you know, really kind of masked, you know, the truth of, you know, Luke Skywalker being in the show, and kind of having, you know, Plo Koon being that stand-in was, I thought it was genius. That was really cool. And again, man, like I was talking about, going back to, you know, Boba Fett, I think they're, you know, it's, if you read on in this book later, I can't remember exactly what chapter, it's later in the book, but, you know, even with, I think that they kind of touch on, like, there's been a lot of headcanon, there's been a lot of fan fiction, even stuff in the expanded universe pertaining to Boba Fett, and they knew that the character was always going to come back. They always had a plan with him, and they were always wanted to do something more with him. And so it was just really cool to kind of see that triumphant, you know, return of the character, specifically in The Mandalorian, which I really enjoyed. And they even go so far as to talk about, you know, Robert Rodriguez and, you know, a couple of other, you know, directors who were really doing big things in the 90s, doing some different but also big things in the 90s, and how it was kind of cool to bring him in, you know, to kind of direct that episode. And we know that Robert Rodriguez, you know, also did stuff on, you know, directed, you know, the Book of Boba Fett. He was kind of like the main guy behind that. So, I mean, it's just really cool to kind of see the nitty gritty behind the scenes details, man. I'm all about the art. I'm all about, obviously, The Mandalorian. And, you know, this is one of those books that was near and dear to me. By the way, I have had this book for probably a little bit over a month. I am just very slow to getting to it. I posted a couple things about it. But now this is like my first time coming out and talking about it, which is really fun. And that's mainly just because I've been reading other novels and trying to get through those things first before I jump to something else. But, you know, now I finally finished, you know, some of the other stuff I've been reading, and can finally, you know, sit down and talk about, you know, this book with you guys, which is really fun. But yeah, man, for me, I love being able, especially, you know, being, you know, an actor. You know, a lot of the stuff I do is voice acting and, you know, commercial work, you know, here in my town. And then being a cosplayer, obviously, a Star Wars Mandalorian fanatic. You know, for me, being able to have anything that gets you a little bit more behind the scenes, and kind of seeing that process, and the artwork in general, I'm all about it. And it's crazy thinking that, wow, The Mandalorian season 2 was 2020. You know, let that sink in. That's crazy. So my mind is like, man, just imagine, like, how long is it going to be till I get the season 3 art book, man? When that does come out, you know, that's going to be really fun. And just imagining, like, you know, what's going to come, you know, for The Mandalorian and Grogu's adventures as we go into season 3. And I've done plenty of prediction videos. We can talk about that in a different video. But anyway, to all and everyone that are behind The Mandalorian season 2 art book, I just want to say thank you. This is so fun. You know, for a fan, you know, like me, I cherish this stuff. I appreciate the art. I appreciate the information, and it's fun just to, you know, as fun as it is watching and being a part of, you know, the experience watching at home, you know, on my screen. It's also a really cool privilege to, like, sit back and read through and see just how much work and how much time and effort goes into one episode alone. You know what I mean? And the production itself. And it makes you as a fan really appreciate, at least for me, makes me really appreciate, you know, The Mandalorian and Star Wars and Lucasfilm and everything that they're doing even that much more. So anyway, just wanted to say thank you. Really love this book. If you guys haven't gotten it yet, please go and get it, especially if you're a Mandalorian fan, Star Wars fan. Definitely one of the things I would highly recommend. Super cool. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk about the book. Nothing too deep, you know, with it. One thing I will say, I'm paraphrasing, but there is, I don't know if it's in the forward of this book or if it's like in a piece talking about the Mandalorian, but there's one thing that I like is where they talk about the mysteriousness of the character, and it's like it doesn't really matter who's behind the helmet, you know, because the Mandalorian is it's that armor, you know, it's the guy, it's, you know, the skin, you know, not so much, you know, what's underneath the helmet. And I think a character like that, you know, there's plenty of characters where you could identify with and say, you know, yep, Spider-Man or Iron Man, whatever, you know what I mean? Where, you know, if there's a mask, if there's some type of cloaking mechanism, it's where anyone can see themselves within that character. And particularly from a cosplay standpoint, you know, for me, it's one of those things that's one thing I really love about characters such as Din Djarin, is where anyone, you know, any of you guys watching, you know, that's why, you know, it can be so relatable. It's like, man, you can see yourself in this character because there's not always a prominent face, even though there's face reveals. You know, we all love Pedro Pascal, but you know, I think that's the unique thing about Din Djarin, is that, you know, there's that mysteriousness to him. So therefore, it's like anyone can see themselves within the character, and that's one thing that I love. Paraphrasing, if you guys have read it, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys for the next video. Peace.